Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout, where this is a series where I watch every single minute of every single game just to delve into the fantasy world and find those daily fantasy sleepers and those deep waiver plays for your fantasy leagues. So today we're going to be talking about the Indianapolis Colts versus the Los Angeles Chargers in Week 1. So let's get right into it. The Indianapolis Colts, a lot was said about the Colts and Andrew Luck retiring. It's a bummer. A couple weeks before the season, it's a bummer. There's no other way to say it, but. One of the things I said in my podcast is Brissett, we don't really know what he is. He spent some time in New England. He actually started a season when Luck was hurt the last time, went I think 4-11, but had a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Didn't have a great completion percentage that season, but he wasn't bad. And remember, the Colts a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, they had no talent on the offense comparatively. This is a franchise that perpetually tried to just win with a good quarterback. They did it with Peyton Manning and they did it with Andrew Luck. Well, now with the new regime, Ballard in place, he's really focusing on trying to build talent. They have Marlon Mack. They have a really strong offensive line. They have great receivers. Unfortunately, I think the Colts were actually primed to try to make a Super Bowl run this year. Andrew Luck, I think he really takes them out of that Super Bowl window for now. But Brissett was pretty good, and he came out. He was 21-27, had a couple of touchdowns there. T.Y. Hilton caught 2 touchdowns. He was relevant. Funchess wasn't really involved too much. Ebron wasn't involved too much. Doyle, he wasn't involved too much. But Mack, in that offensive line, I think this offense is going to run through Mack, and they're going to open up deep passing opportunities. I think this is actually a very, very good team. So all is not lost if you're a Colts fan. If you have Brissett in your league available, and I'm sure he will be, I think he is worth a waiver claim if you're in a deep league or if you're super, super desperate at quarterback because they have so many weapons. Now, in the daily fantasy realm, Brissett is going to be cheaper. He didn't throw too many touchdowns, so his budget's not going to ascend the way Lamar Jackson's is going to this week. He's going to be a nice daily fantasy buy this week. So I like him all around. Mack, he's going to be gone in your league. He's somebody that, in my opinion, if you own David Johnson and you're a little uneasy about how he was used, or if you own Gurley like I do and you're a little uneasy, you could try to trade one of those for Mack. I don't know that you'll get them. I think Mack's value is probably skyrocketed and probably going to remain high. But he's somebody you can look into. Now, I've been saying about Marlon Mack for a while that he's what makes this offense go. This team was struggling last year before Mack came back. Once he was there and once Andrew Luck last season had a viable running game, this offense took off. And I think it's going to be the same way this year. That's why I think the offense is going to run through Mack. Will he get 170 yards every week? No. But he is going to be viable every single week, and the offense will run through him. And I think he has the opportunity to be a consistent 3-down back. Hines, as a pass catcher, if you're in a PPR league, maybe, but I really think this is Mack's show, and this is the way this team is going to win games. At receiver, I like T.Y. Hilton. If you have Ebron, don't hit the panic button yet. Let's see what happens in another week. People who didn't watch the game probably didn't see, but Ebron actually caught a touchdown and then bobbled as he was rolling out of bounds. He actually did have a touchdown reception that was called back correctly, but it was called back. He's going to have plenty of red zone opportunities this year. I think he'll be fine. My question mark is Funchess. I know he was injured in the game. He's a big red zone target. But with Luck gone, I think Funchess actually hurts the most out of everybody. I think Mack's value goes up. I think T.Y. and Ebron, maybe T.Y. stays stable. Ebron maybe drops a little bit. I think Funchess drops a pretty decent amount. And then, another thing is this Colts defense, I think, is strong. So if you need to stream defenses and they're playing kind of a weaker team, there's somebody that you can pick up and stream, or there's somebody you can play in daily fantasy, but I really wouldn't do much more than that. Now, on the other side, the Chargers, they started rusty. I've been saying this about a lot of teams in this series. When you don't play your starters a lot in preseason, you tend to start rusty. The defenses tend to be a little bit better. But I'll say this, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, they should have covered the spread. The spread, I think, was 6 or 7 points. They should have, but Phillip Rivers threw a bad interception in the end zone kind of later in the game. They gave the Colts the opportunity to come back and force to overtime. But this team will be just fine. Mike Williams went down early, so we didn't get to see a lot of him. Who else? There's Keenan Allen is going to be fantastic, I think, this year, as he always is when he's healthy. And Austin Ekeler and Jackson there, the running backs. If I'm the Chargers, why would I ever pay Gordon when you have guys like that? Ekeler really showed up. He got 3 touchdowns. He was in my fantasy football lineup. I hope he was in yours as well. He should not be available in any leagues, but if he is, he's another guy you would want to put a waiver claim on. If you're in a dynasty league, I think you want to as well, because I don't think Gordon's going to be the starter in the 2020 season. I think Ekeler will be the starter. I think that's who they're going to roll with. I drafted him late. He's probably going to be my lone keeper at 8th round value, and I think you'll be happy with him if you pick him up in your waivers as well. So there's a very brief Los Angeles Chargers fantasy fallout for you. Rivers, I think, is going to be great. Keenan Allen's going to be great. Ekeler, if you can acquire him, if you're in a dynasty league, I would do that because I think he will be the starter next year. Melvin Gordon's probably going to be out until week 7 to week 10, somewhere in that range, so you're going to get a lot of use out of Ekeler this year, and I think he'll be the starter next year. And then if Jackson's sitting out there on waivers, he's somebody you want to get too, because remember last year Ekeler had some value as a kind of backup, the pass catching, the spell running back for Melvin Gordon. I think Jackson will be the same this year for Austin Ekeler. So the Chargers, they have a lot of value. I'm going to wait and see on Mike Williams. He left the game early. I do think he has value. And then Hunter Henry also at tight end. He didn't get a ton of targets. I was looking for a little bit more. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but I'm kind of a wait and see on him. If you can grab him, I think he'd be an okay one to grab. If he's on a team, he probably was drafted. You probably don't need to try to acquire him. And if he's on your team and he's your starting tight end, don't hit the panic button. He will find the end zone. So there you go. There's another episode of the Fantasy Fallout. If you could like us, subscribe to us, comment. We'd appreciate it. That's how we grow our channel. And we'll be interactive. I'll reply to the comments and all that as time allows. And catch us on another episode.